Right, I know we didn't finish the other topic last week, but we'll come back to that either Friday or next week. I want to make sure we get through solving. So then the next topic, the last topic in the unit, is solving with rational exponents. So the question, how do you use the laws that we just talked about to solve equations involving common bases or rational exponents? So remember, a rational exponent is just an exponent that's a fraction. So what do we do to solve it when it's a fraction? So we're going to do the rational exponents today and tomorrow, and then we'll come back to common bases on Wednesday and Thursday. All right, so first we're going to do the rational bases one. We use the properties of exponents to solve equations involving rational exponents by undoing the order of operations. So remember, the order of operations is GEMDOS, which means if we undo them, we're going backwards. So we're doing SAD MEG to undo the order of operations. All right, so let's look at the first example here. All right, so the part that we're trying to get by itself is the base. So we want to isolate the base with the exponent. So the base here is the parentheses, and this is the exponent. That's the part we're trying to get by itself. So in order for us to do that, we undo the order of operations. So if you look at our little poster, first is subtract or add. So we want to subtract or add anything outside of this. So the -3 is outside, so we add the 3 to the other side. So we're going to end up with 2 times x minus 5 to the 4/3 equals, I go ahead and add this together, and we get 162. So again, we're still trying to get the base by itself, but it's still not by itself because it has that 2 in the front. I don't want to distribute the 2. That doesn't work. We do divide or multiply. So because we're multiplying here by 2, we actually divide both sides by 2 to get rid of it. So divide both sides by 2, and I'm left with x minus 5 to the 4/3 power. And then over here, use your calculators, do 162 divided by 2, and we get 81. Okay, so once you isolate the base, you want to get rid of the exponent next. So remember, this is backwards GEMDOS, so we subtract or added first, we multiplied or divided. Now we need to get rid of the exponent. So here, this is the exponent right here. So to get rid of it, I want to raise both sides by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 4/3 is 3/4. So 81, whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other side too. So this side gets 3/4 as well. So up here, these are just going to cancel each other out because we get 1, and anything to the 1 power goes away. So that part goes away. So we're left with x minus 5. But this part, we got to figure out what the number is. So you can use your calculator. I'm going to review what we did on Friday with the rational exponents. But you can use your calculator now to get this answer. But just to review, in order for us to solve this, we need to write it in radical form. So here, what number goes in the front? That's the bottom number, which is 4. The one that goes on the inside is the 81. And then the exponent on the outside is the 3, the numerator. So if you were absent on Friday, this is what we did with the little puzzle. So whatever's on the bottom goes in the front. The base goes inside, and then the numerator is the exponent. All right, so let's look at our chart. Look at the charts. The fourth root of 81, go to the fourth column, go down to 81, and it says this answer is 3, all the way to the left. So x minus 5 equals 3. But then we have to cube it. Because the exponent on the outside is 3, we have to cube that. So again, 3 cubed, looking at the chart, is just 27. So we're going to end up with x minus 5 equals 27. So from here, you just solve for x. So solve for x, solve for the variable by finishing and adding 5 to the other side. So here, if I add 5 to both sides, we get x is 27 plus 5 is 32. So this is the part right here that's the new part. We've done this before with absolute values. We've done, obviously, this part with solving for x. This is the new part with the reciprocal and the fraction. All right, so that's what we're going to practice today, and that's what your assignment's going to be for the rest of the period. All right, so let's do the few examples at the bottom, and then you'll be able to go do the homework. Okay, so looking at A and B. I always recommend boxing in the base and the exponent. So here, the base is just the x, and the exponent is 3/2. Over here, the base is the parentheses and the 1/2. That's the part we're trying to get by itself. So for this one, we're doing gem DOS backwards. We need to subtract or add first. So what are we going to subtract or add? The plus 4 to the other side. So we're going to do minus 4. So then we get 3x to the 3/2 equals 379 minus 4 is 375. But again, the base is still not completely by itself. So again, these aren't attached together. They go separate. So you want to separate the 3 from the x. So we want to multiply or divide. So what are we going to divide by? In order to get rid of the 3, we divide both sides by 3. So that cancels this one out. So x to the 3/2 equals 375 divided by 3. You can just do this in your calculator. Is 125. Now, we got the base by itself. Now we need to get rid of the exponent. So to get rid of the exponent, we want to raise both sides to the reciprocal power. So 3 over 2, reciprocal would be 2 over 3. So to both sides, we do 2 over 3. All right, so we're going to do x. So these cancel out. So we're left with x over here equals, you can type this in your calculator. So in your calculator, you can do 125 and do the little caret sign. And then you put 2 divided by 3. You put 2/3 in the top corner. So you can do that. But again, I'm reviewing here because you still need to know how to rewrite it in the other form. So in the other form, we're going to do cube root, or we're going to do root sign. The denominator goes in the front. The 125 goes inside. And the squared goes on the outside. So looking on your chart, under the cube column, we go to 125. Cube root of 125 is 5. But then we have to square that. So 5 squared, that's going to be our final answer this time. So x equals 5 squared is just 25. And again, that's what you would have gotten if you just typed this in the calculator. 125 to the 2 divided by 3, and it'll give you your solution there. Okay, but again, reviewing how to get these without the calculator. We'll do these other ones in the calculator, but I just want to rewrite the other form. Okay, so for part B, this entire thing is the base. So again, we want to add or subtract first. So since we have a -2 on the outside, we want to add it to the other side. So we're going to end up with parentheses 2x plus 1 to the 1/2 equals 4. So this time, there's actually not a number in the front that we have to multiply or divide by. So there's not a value here. So we can go straight into the exponent step. So if I have 1/2, the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 over 1. But 2 over 1 is just 2. So we actually don't need a fraction this time. We're just going to square it. So we're going to do, so this cancels out, 2x plus 1 equals 4 squared. Because it's not a fraction, you can leave it as 4 or 2 over 1, but 2 over 1 is just 2. All right, so you're going to finish solving 2x plus 1 equal to 16. 4 squared is just 16. So from here, just solve for x minus 1. 2x equals 15. And then divide by 2. So what do we get when we divide it by 2? X is, your calculator is actually not going to divide it. It's going to leave it as 15 over 2. In order for your calculator to give you a decimal, you do 15 divided by 2, and then you put the little decimal point, and it'll tell you that the answer is 7.5. Okay, I don't care which one. You can give me either answer. If the answer choices are in decimal form, well, you got to know how to give decimals. So you divide, and you just put a dot there if you want the decimal form for it. All right, looking at C and D, last ones. So again, box in what your base is. So the exponent is the fraction part. That's going to be the small one. The base is the one right beneath the x. So just this one, not the 2. If it's in parentheses, then it does include the 2. But if it doesn't have parentheses, it's just the x. So here, the fraction, since it has parentheses this time, you want the x minus 2 as the base. All right, so first step, what do we want to subtract or add here? So the number on the outside is the -5. So I need to add 5 to get it to the other side. So -2 times x to the 3/4 equals -21 plus 5. If you do -21 plus 5 in your calculator, you get -16. So from here, again, we're still trying to get this part by itself. So we need to get rid of the -2 by dividing or multiplying. So in this case, we divide both sides by -2. So it cancels out. X to the 3/4 equals +8. Negative and a negative makes the +8. All right, so this time the exponent is 3 over 4. So what exponent do we need to raise it to get rid of it? It needs to be the reciprocal of this one. So the reciprocal of 3 over 4 is 4 over 3. So here, 8, 4 over 3. All right, so go ahead and do this one in the calculator. Get your calculator and do 8. So you're going to do 8. And then you're going to do the little caret sign. And in the exponent, you want to do 4 divided by 3. And that one will automatically give you the answer. So from here, 8 to the 4/3 gives you 16. So you're welcome to do it that way. You don't have to do everything by hand. But if you were going to write it in the other form, you would say the root sign, the cube goes here, the 8 goes in the inside, and the 4 goes in the outside. I would recommend if you weren't here Friday to do the puzzle, that you go ahead and do this part. That way you know how to do it. Because you didn't get all that practice on Friday. So go ahead and keep writing it like this. Alright, so then you do the cube root of 8. And that's 2. And then you go to the 4th power. And so 2 to the 4th is the 16. Okay, but I don't need to see that part. You don't need to do that part. That's just review. Alright, so last one. So this time we want to add the negative 3 on the outside. Or sorry, we want to move the 3 by adding it to the other side because it's a negative. So we're going to end up with parentheses x minus 2 to the 1/3 equals negative 2. So you subtract negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Now again, this time, there's nothing to multiply or divide by, so I don't need to do this step because there's not a number in the front. I can go straight to the exponent step. What's the reciprocal of 1 over 3? We go 3 over 1. So here we're going to raise it to the 3 over 1. So these cancel out. And we're left with x minus 2. Here you got to be careful. So remember 3 over 1, we can just write it as 3 to the exponent of 3. Make sure when you do this in the calculator though, that you put the parentheses around it. It's going to be critical that anytime you have a negative, that you always put in parentheses. Sometimes it'll give you the right answer, but not all the time. So here, negative 2 cubed, because it's odd, is going to give us negative 8 equals x minus 2. If it was even, though, if this was squared, that would turn it to positive. So just be careful with the exponents. Always put them in parentheses if it's a negative. All right, so then you just finish it by adding 2 to both sides. So negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. All right, so this is solving rational exponents in your Canvas. So you can go ahead and get your phones and your computers out. In Canvas, you'll see this as the assignment for this week. So you have 2 assignments for this week. You can't do the other one. This one is called solving rational exponents. So that's what you want to do here. Okay, so work on your homework. It's not due. The whole thing is due on Friday, but make sure there's going to be 3 assignments in the end. Make sure you get this one done today.